Poi Tethers! They come in a bewildering array of materials, sizes, lengths, and colors. Trying to sort through all the options out there can be a little overwhelming, and it does leave one with the uncomfortable question of whether changing up your tethers might improve your flow. Like, are my tethers holding me back from that new trick I want to learn? Are my tethers keeping me from progressing in my skills? I see people online doing amazing tricks with fancy tethers. If I want to spin like them, do I need the same equipment? So I am going to do that thing you're not supposed to do on YouTube and give you the answer up front. And that is probably not. But it is worth asking why these questions come up in the first place. Why might you choose one tether option over another? And what cases are there where the tether actually does make a difference? Drex here from DrexFactor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And in this video, I'm going to talk a bunch about tethers, the good, the bad, and how big an impact they actually make on your spinning. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flowfests, Flow Toys, Paraterra Light Toys, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you so very much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So I'm going to start this off with what may be a controversial position. Tethers are an important component of a set of poi. I mean, obviously, we only have three components: a head, a tether, and a handle. You don't remove any single part of that equation and still have a usable poi. But I think tethers occupy a really special niche in poi components because in a lot of ways, they're probably the most easily interchangeable and modular part of the prop. And I think that there are three major areas of concern with tethers that are important to consider in purchasing poi that I'd like to discuss here: material, thickness, and length. And yes, those of you with dirty minds, this video is just going to go downhill from here. So let's start with material. Many sets of poi, especially contact poi, are constructed explicitly to be able to swap out for different tethers if the desire takes you. And many companies offer several different options for poi tethers, both at purchase or as add-ons to take advantage of those capabilities. Over the years, I've used sets of poi with tethers made from coal cord, nylon strings, flow cord, bondage rope, static rope, Technora, FPC, and heck, plain old-fashioned fabric too. Why the bewildering array of materials? Well, because aside from the handle, this is the part of the poi that we interact with the most. It's the part of the poi that takes the most abuse and wear and whose feel has the biggest impact on our spinning experience. To say nothing of the aesthetic value of the tether, by total size, it is the biggest and sometimes most visible component of a set of poi. While back in the 2000s it was fashionable to spin using tether materials that stretched, this has largely fallen out of fashion in modern poi. Tether options like coal cord and flow cord were good fits for a time when most people spun with finger loop handles and didn't perform a lot of throws, contact moves, or stalls. But most sets of poi you can purchase currently will utilize some form of rope as their tethers, with a couple notable exceptions we'll get into a little later. And ropes can come with a few drawbacks. Many kinds of rope were not created for the specific application of being poi tethers in mind, and as a result, they can be kind of abrasive to our hands and break down over time in a process called pilling. This involves the rope gradually becoming stiffer and shorter over time when subjected to the heavy wear and tear associated with having a person spin the rope around. And unfortunately, that's kind of baked into poi. Now, there are popular options out there that resist this kind of pilling, like the Smithy Rope Champion by Lanternsmith, HPC, or its specialty twin FPC, which is available through Flow Toys. In each case, these are ropes that manage the difficult balance of being easy on the hands and fingers while resisting the abrasion process that leads to pilling. And I'll be real with you, there's no bad answer here. All of these rope options will cover the most important bases and will be with you for a good long time. If you don't know why you need a specific rope option, then you probably really don't need it. So what are the exceptions to this rule? If you've bought a cheap set of Poi off Amazon like these, the tethers are made with a nylon string that does not have enough mass to handle in a stable fashion, and worse, will shred the skin on your fingers if you try to wrap them up. Unless you simply cannot afford to buy a set with better tethers, avoid these. Spinning with them will not be fun. And the other is that if you're expecting to do a lot of Poi juggling, then static rope really is the industry standard at this point. It's stiff in a way that makes throws and catches more stable and aesthetically pleasing, but also bear in mind that when it comes to learning basic Poi tricks, they don't make any significant difference at all. It's totally fine to wait to spring for them when you're deeper into your flow journey and you've gotten to a point where you really need them. I also haven't really talked about sock or fabric Poi here yet, and they do warrant discussion. I personally adore fabric Poi because they are super visible on video and are incredibly kind to my hands for their entire length. With sock or fabric Poi though, contact Poi tricks really aren't possible, so this is a pretty specific choice for those with a more classic Poi style. If that's up your alley, I highly recommend these. And finally, if you're working with fire Poi, then the conversation really begins and ends with Technora, which is a type of aramid, like Kevlar, that's been woven into a rope form factor. And conveniently, all fire prop manufacturers that I'm aware of produce their fire Poi with it. It's the 2020s. Is there actually anybody spinning fire Poi with chains anymore? Now, there's going to be no shortage of people that will go overboard on this or that benefit of this particular type of rope or that particular type of rope. Seriously, dudes will geek out over rope like they're parts of a car engine or obscure comic book characters. If you're just starting out, you will never notice a difference between most of these options. Go with what's easily accessible and focus on what actually matters here. Practice time. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about rope thickness. Just like with rope material, this is a hotly contested question where you will have people ready to die on their particular hill of choice. So let's see if we can cut through some of the noise and get some signal. By and large, ropes tend to be available at a variety of different thicknesses ranging from 8 millimeters to 10 millimeters, half an inch, or up to a full inch in diameter. So how much of a difference does that thickness actually make? Again, it depends on what you're trying to do with them. Thicker tethers are generally a better fit for throws. Having more mass in the tether makes a Poi's trajectory through the air a lot more stable and predictable. But that same mass can be a problem when you're just starting out and lead to fatigue while spinning them for a while. Personally, I find spinning tethers a half inch or more wide feels kind of like spinning baseball bats, and I personally feel like I have to fight the Poi more than flow with them. Thinner tethers, like 8 millimeters or below on the other hand, can feel so light that at times they can feel really difficult to control. Especially when working with contact moves, I find tethers this thin can feel wild and unpredictable. They are much lighter for smaller bodies or sensitive shoulders, however, so it's a trade-off. When it comes to learning, I think that it's helpful to have at least a bit of mass in the tether because it'll be really helpful for plane control. Really thin tethers with less mass will be more difficult to control, but there is a break-even point where the tether is so thick that it interferes with your control by being too massive. In general, I'm going to say that if your tethers are between 8 to 10 millimeters thick, you're probably doing just fine. You've got enough mass to work with contact or throws if you'd like, and they're light enough that you're not fighting with them as you spin. And once again, there's the question of sock or fabric Poi, and here I'll say that they feel great for classic Poi styles. Throws are possible, and they do just fine with those, but contact really isn't happening. There is one cool thing about sock or fabric Poi here that I want to single out, and that's that one of the reasons to have thicker tethers is that they stand out better on video. Sock Poi kind of avoid that question entirely because they're thick enough their entire length to show up loud and clear. If you want the visibility of thicker tethers without the weight of them, sock Poi are definitely the way to go. Alright, so last consideration. What about tether length? This is again a hotly contested question, and we've been through multiple cycles of it being fashionable to keep tethers short versus having really long ones. In general, tethers that are at or around elbow length are good for late 2000s tech Poi and rapid stalls, plane breaks, and inversion work. Tethers that can reach the ground from standing are better for throws and contact work. They also tend to make moves that eat up a lot of volume, like windmills and flowers, present in a much better fashion for your audience. Each length also has its own drawbacks too. Shorter poi are more difficult to control. With less angular momentum holding the poi in plane, their movements are more unpredictable and you need more fine plane control to ensure they go where you want them to. In addition, you need poi that can at least stretch from your thumb joint to your mid-biceps to make contact poi tricks work at all. Longer poi, on the other hand, require a lot more effort to move. They just simply have more mass in them in general. In addition, inversion work is impossible without shortening them, and they're not as responsive to rapid changes in momentum or tempo. Because my personal style is so heavily based in dance, I avoid longer tethers because they just simply aren't responsive enough to keep up with me. I find I'm constantly fighting to stay at tempo, and the poi always feels sluggish to me. If you're just starting out, the length I always recommend people start with is that their poi stretch from their thumb joint to their shoulder joint. This is a good all-around length that doesn't make anything off limits, nor does it present any unique challenges. If you don't know what length is right for you, this is the one to work with. One thing I really want to get across, whether we're talking about material, thickness, or length, is that while there are a lot of options out there, the differences between them don't actually tend to make a huge difference if you're just starting out. You need to get a ways into your flow journey and figure out what style of spinning most interests you and the tricks you most want to pursue to really know when and to what you want to change out your tethers to. In general, if you're wondering whether it would help to change your tethers, the answer is actually probably not. The real answer almost certainly is going to be more practice. But if there are specific things you're wrestling with, here are ways that changing the tethers could help. Are you struggling with your planes or finding yourself getting out of plane as you're working on learning new tricks? Thicker and longer tethers might help because the extra mass will preserve more angular momentum. Are your contact rolls or throws wild and all over the place? Again, thicker or longer tethers might help give the poi more consistent momentum. Do your fingers keep getting shredded, or you find that you're tearing off your calluses after long hours of practicing? Maybe switch to smithy rope, FPC, or sock poi. Do you find your poi to be unwieldy? Do you have to fight them to keep them moving, or do they hit the ground too much? Might be a good idea to switch to shorter or thinner tethers. Do your tethers turn into a tangled mess anytime you try to practice your tricks? Get thicker tethers. But also remember that the tools you use only have so much power to improve your spinning. Most of the problems you encounter will be fixed with practice, not buying something shiny and new. Changing out your tethers is only as useful as the degree to which the feel of your tethers makes you enjoy the experience of practicing. Regardless of what tethers you use to do it, work hard and you will see improvement. Were there any questions you had about tethers that I didn't answer in this video? Please leave me a comment and let me know what they were. Also, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to help other people find this video and to help my channel grow. Thank you. This video would not be possible without my amazing supporters on Patreon. In particular, I want to give a shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen right now. Thank you all so much for your support. You rock. If you'd like to support the channel, here are 3 ways to do it. If you'd like to get your name in the credits or access to any of a host of other rewards, you can hit up my Patreon over at patreon.com/DrexFactor Poi and sign up. I'll link to it down in the description as well as up in the cards. If you'd rather make a one-off contribution, you can do that via PayPal or Venmo. I am at DrexFactor on both platforms, and I will leave links to them down in the description. Thank you so much in advance. If you'd like to learn more about another question people frequently have about their poi, namely how to grip them, be sure to check out this other video that I have on that topic. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Thanks for watching. Take care and have a good one. Peace.